Welcome to the Embassy of Mike Graham. I'm Mike Graham, and this is my Heaven and Hell. Dr. Evil meets Dr. Evil. Who would have thought it? Kim Jong Un, otherwise known as something like the appointed one or the anointed one or something like that. His dad was the favoured one. They all have names for themselves. He went off on a train this week, but not any train. It was a bulletproof train, and he headed to eastern Russia because he wanted to meet up with Vladimir Putin. Now, in the old days, you would have had some US president calling it the axis of evil, but there was some very funny coverage in some of the newspapers where they showed the two of them next to each other, and one bubble came out of one guy's mouth saying, "I'm Dr. Evil," and the other one said, No, I'm Dr. Evil." The point is that they're now sort of forming some kind of a sort of collateral mission to destroy the West. I don't think it's going to work, frankly. Kim Jong Un hasn't got much to sell, but he claims he's got some weapons that he wants to give to Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin, in return, is going to put up a couple of satellites for North Korea so that they can presumably have Just Eat and order as much food as they want whenever they want it. I'm obviously being a bit facetious here. But, I mean, some people are worried. Some people think China must be behind this. There must be some reason why Kim Jong Un and Vladimir Putin are meeting up. Well, I think like a lot of things that these guys do, it's all for show. It's all a bit of a PR scenario. Unfortunately for the poor people of Ukraine, they're still at war with Russia. I don't think the addition of Kim Jong Un is going to make too much difference. But it was certainly one for all the internationalists to get concerned about. I would say, for the two of them, it was probably heaven. They're back. This week saw the return to the public eye of our favourite Duke and Duchess. That is, of course, Harry and Meghan, the Montecito Massive. That's right, we're reunited in Europe. She didn't fancy coming to Britain, though, so he had to come here on his own. So she met up with him in Dusseldorf for the opening of the Invictus Games, which is a very worthy scenario. And actually, the way that they comported themselves while they were there, with her dressed in a very, very fetching outfit and him looking adoringly on, holding hands with each other, hugging school children, hugging disabled athletes. It was all pretty good for the House of Sussex PR department. But of course, you'd have to wonder exactly what it was that they were hoping to get out of it. They still can't resist having a go at the other members of the royal family, though, because a story appeared just as all the nice pictures went away about how the royal family not taking part in the Invictus Games and not getting involved in it was somehow upsetting all of the veterans who were fighting for medals at the actual games. They said the fact the royal family haven't in any way joined in and have snubbed the whole event means that they must be really, really hating Harry and Meghan getting all this great publicity. Well, it doesn't quite ring true, because the thing about the royals is they've all got their own pet charities. They don't mix with each other's. And apparently they'd rather go to the Highland Games in Scotland than go anywhere near the Invictus Games. The truth probably is they don't want to go anywhere near Harry because they don't like him very much. It's that simple. But for Harry and Meghan, I'd say it was quite a good week. So heaven for them. Unhappy hour. Apparently a pub chain has decided that it's not good enough to sell drinks cheap whenever they want to attract you in. Like happy hour, 2 for 1, that kind of thing. Go to a pub and get a free shot for £1. No, now they've decided, actually, when it gets a bit busier, they should charge a bit more. Even though they've obviously got more money coming in because more people are in the pub. No, Stonegate have decided, and they're a big chain that runs things like the Slug and Lettuce and Yates Wine Lodge, they think that actually they should capitalise on the fact that people want to come to a pub at a particular time, and they're going to charge them like 20p more for a pint of beer. Seems a bit out of order, that, to me. I think I'd be leaving that pub and saying, I should take my business elsewhere. Because what next? Are we going to see that in every other aspect of life? If you go into a shop and it's a bit busy, they're going to charge you more money. Surely they should charge you less money. That would be the point. And I think pubs in general are struggling enough. So I think this is a really, really stupid idea. Any pub that wants to charge you more money because of the time of day has got to be bonkers. I'd say this is hell. Who are EU kidding? Did you see last night at the Proms? I mean, I don't watch it anymore, to be honest, because it is a bit probably past its sell-by date. But the BBC still get very excited about last night at the Proms. You know, it's supposed to be a great patriotic evening where people turn up with Union Jacks and fly them around singing Land of Hope and Glory, God Save the King, and all manner of other songs like Jerusalem. They get very worked up, and it's all very, very nice. And it makes you feel proud to be British. Well, not anymore, as apparently it's all been taken over by a load of Ramonas, because this time what happened was, instead of Union Jacks, or Union flags to be precise, they started waving EU flags. You know, those blue flags with the yellow stars. Used to be 27, now it's only 26. These idiots who think that we should have stayed in the EU. These people who want to rejoin the EU, even though people in Europe are now talking about leaving it. They don't even wave EU flags in Europe. If you go to Italy, they wave Italian flags. If you go to Germany, they wave German flags. You've never seen anyone waving an EU flag, apart from in this country at last night at the Proms, while they're singing, you know, Rule Britannia. I mean, how stupid can you get? Idiotic. It turns out it was actually all organised by some pro-Remain group who gave away free EU flags to people as they went in. The BBC are getting hammered for it as well, because they should have known better. But actually, imagine being there. It must have been hell. Unsporting conduct. Do you know how Keir Starmer had a bit of a reshuffle the other day? Well, he appointed a few people to a few jobs. Most of the people he appointed, nobody had ever heard of. Most of the jobs that people were leaving were also people nobody had ever heard of. Angela Rayner is about the only person in the Labour Party anybody's ever heard of, apart from Sir Keir Starmer. But we've now got a new person to think about. Her name is Tangam Debonair, because Tangam Debonair has been the new appointee in the Shadow Department for Culture, Media and Sport. Now, that's the thing that looks after television, it's the thing that looks after sport, it's the thing that looks after culture. I know that might sound a bit obvious, but that's the remit, that's the job. But I'm afraid Ms Debonair, I'm not quite sure what she did before, has now taken on that brief. But she admitted in her first interview as the Shadow Minister for Culture, Media and Sport that she'd never been to a football match or indeed a rugby match. She hasn't mentioned any other sports, so we can only assume that she hasn't been to any kind of matches at all. She's from Bristol. In fact, her constituency is in Bristol, where they've got two football teams, I think at least one rugby team. It's only a short hop to Bath, where they've got another rather good rugby team. So what on earth is she thinking? Worse than that, what on earth is Keir Starmer thinking? Why would you give somebody a job looking after sport who's never watched it? That's the Labour Party for you. It's hell for me. That was my heaven and hell for this week. Don't forget to join the Embassy of Mike Graham. Like it, share it, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.